umpire doesn't owe you an apology. You owe him and us, and probably even more so, Naomi, Osaka, an apology for stealing this child's moment. I have done the most videos probably about Serena and Venus. And what I'm touching on today is something that I did a video about as it relates to Serena about 4 years ago, man. And I'll post the link for it up here somewhere if you want to take a look at it. But I was so disappointed in Serena's behavior at that U.S. Open today. Very disappointed. Because I have noticed a pattern with her in that when she loses, Serena, unfortunately, will sort of make excuses. Or when she's down and at risk of losing, something will happen that will get the complete focus off the fact that you just got your tail beat, but will give it out as to reasons you got your tail beat. Let me put it out there. That girl beat Serena today and was going to beat her. She just beat her about 3 or 4 months ago in straight sets. Now, mind you, Serena was just coming back. Okay? But Serena got whipped in that first set and started coming on strong in the third. But when she broke Naomi, and then Naomi broke her back, another outburst, another distraction. You know why, Serena? Because you saw the light at the end of the tunnel. That young girl was going to beat your butt. Now, let me just give some history, some facts as to why I'm saying this. I don't even know where to start. Let me just start with the sisters. Let me start with the sisters. We all know how they came to the tennis scene. Okay? They beat the odds. They didn't go the normal route. Right? Richard Williams had them practicing in Compton, and, you know, from the beginning of their careers, it has always sort of been this us against the world sort of mentality. And of course, they're African Americans in a sport that is dominated by white players. So we know what can come with that. Right? But they have, it has always been this us against the world mentality. Their father was very outspoken. He was critical of the junior tennis, and that's why he didn't have his daughters in it. And hey, look, he proved them right. He said that Serena and Venus was going to be number ones in the world, and they have been. So, you know, you can only knock that but so much. And Serena is the greatest female tennis player of all time. However, with the two sisters, what I have noticed, Venus reminds me of her mom, or a scene. You know, Venus can get a bad call and will sort of shrug it off and, keep playing. She's had a couple outbursts. Serena's like a dad. Serena is a fighter. That's one of the things I love to watch with Serena. Her and the dog, I love to watch those two because they just, they live and die by it. And the great Jimmy Connors did it too. I used to love to watch him play. But yeah, Serena is a fighter. And Serena hates to lose. All players hate to lose. But Serena really hates to lose. And it's obvious in how she responds to a loss. Okay? There is a tendency to make excuses. Stop it, Serena. Bye, Serena. There's a tendency to something to happen during the match. That is the underlying reason that you lost. Now, let's just look at some facts here. Now, Serena brought up the U.S. Open. Why does this always happen here? Da-da-da. Okay, so you done won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 U.S. Opens? You done won 7 U.S. Opens, Serena Williams. And yet this always happens to you. Let's look at some of these outbursts. So, you had one outburst in 2004 where you was playing against Capriati. You were down. You were losing. Yeah, it was in the third set, but you were down. And the umpire made a wrong call. Outburst. The umpire was wrong. And one good thing came out of that, they started that whole Hawkeye. So that now they can play the monitor to see whether the ball will hit the line or not. But again, it was a match where, hey, you had an ugly outburst. 2009, Kim Clijsters. That was the worst one. I think it was the semifinals or whatever. I put that? Yeah, the semifinals. Mama, you said, I will take this fucking ball and shove it down your throat to the umpire. Now let's just talk about that for a minute. When I hear people say, oh, well, the men have done worse. Look at John McEnroe. Yeah, John McEnroe went off a lot. He ain't never said nothing like that. Oh, what did he say? You guys are the picks of the world. That pales into comparison to, I'm going to take this fucking ball and I'll shove it down your throat. Really? You were down in that match against Clijsters. You had lost the first set, and you had it out for that one. And what about 2011 U.S. Open with Sam Stosur? You had lost the first set. And then I think you kind of yelled out when before the point was over, and the umpire said that you yelled too soon, and you know I didn't yell. The point, you lost the point. Whatever. Downhill from there, you lost the match. And this today, like I could just go on about this today. You knew you were going to lose, Serena. You knew it. The girl beat you down in the first set. And because of the fighting spirit in you, you couldn't handle it. And you let, to me, in my opinion, a champion at your caliber should not respond in that manner. I can't think of any of the great female tennis players handling situations like that. Chris Evert, the closest one may be Martina Navratilova. And Martina's outbursts were minor compared to you. And the only reason why Martina's outbursts were considered bad at that time is because Chris Evert, who was her arch rival, had the reputation of being, calm and cool and collected. But Steffi didn't act like that. Monica Seles didn't act like that. You got more Grand Slam titles than any of these women. You don't have anything to prove, Serena. I know you probably wanted this match because you wanted to be said, oh, you had a baby and you came back. But you put everything out there on the kitchen sink and said, I would never cheat. I'm a mother. If this was a man, women's rights. Really, mama? Can you just get your ass out there and beat this girl if you're going to do it? I mean, since you have come back, Serena, it has been one thing after another, after another, after another. I don't know if it's a publicity stunt or whatever, but, it's like, at one point they was talking about performance enhancement drugs, and, I guess you had to be tested, and you felt they testing you too much, and you was alleging that maybe it's some racism or whatever. But wait a minute, one of your arch rivals, Sharapova, just came back from being suspended. Martina Hingis, former #1 in the world, was suspended over drugs. So are you immune from testing? Then, and I don't want to seem insensitive, but then you were in the news because I don't know if you pulled out of a tournament or whatever, but after you had your baby, you stated there was some depression. I get it. That can happen. Now, French Open saying they don't want you to wear the cat suit. Oh, what? Then, I think before that, they're holding my motherhood against me. Why is my ranking so low? I don't know. Some of it may be valid. Some of it is just overkill, babe. You're the greatest tennis player. The greatest female tennis player of all time. Get a grip. You won 7, 8 U.S. Opens. It bothered me that child, this was her moment. And you took it away from her. not the umpire. Because, as we've all heard, your coach said he was telling you to come to the net. So, whether you saw that or not, he was coaching you. All right? And if there can be an argument made, well, this was the finals and all that. Okay. But honestly, Serena, you have got to handle pressure a whole lot better. It's unfortunate that that crowd booed like that at Naomi Osaka's moment. A dream that every young tennis player has to win a Grand Slam. And when that child stood on that podium and could hear nothing but boos, merely because you couldn't take the fact that you were getting your butt whipped and looking for an out. And yeah, you consoled her afterwards. And people were like, oh, that shows the bull. Damage was done. Because ain't nobody talking about that child. What's all in social media, what's all in the newsprints is your outburst. And for many people in social media, it's you got robbed. Because number one, you're an idol. And there are people who look up to you who may know absolutely nothing about tennis, but just look up to you because of what you've done in this sport. And for women in sports. They may not even know the fact that Osaka beat you like 3 months ago. This video has turned into me sort of giving a commentary to talking to Serena. But I just wish that you can look at this video and say to yourself, I went a little overboard. I went a little overboard. I wanted it. I wanted this match. But I went a little overboard. That's how many of the greats handled adversity. You didn't act like that, Serena. As I've said, and I'm going to close with this, you're the greatest female tennis player of all time. And I need to make sure I say that because in my previous video, that I've done, you got some major fans out there who love you, who adore you. And whether you're wrong or right, are going to stick behind you. That's what we do to our idols, to people we look up to. But when you're wrong, you're wrong. And today, you went overboard. So, I know you got a stubborn streak in you. But in your disappointment, I'm hoping that you can look at this video and say to yourself, I'm so much better than this. Mentally, I'm so much stronger than this. Because you're a great champion. The numbers show it. But you're not the only one that has had to deal with adversity in this sport of tennis. I think of Martina Navratilova, 17, 18 years old, defecting to this country, leaving her parents and her family behind to play tennis. Had no family support here. And some years later, coming out as a lesbian. Now we're talking the late 70s, early 80s, when America just didn't play that. And in spite of all of the Grand Slams that Martina won, the numerous singles titles, the numerous doubles titles, the numerous mixed doubles titles, some could argue she is the greatest based on those numbers. That woman never got what she rightly deserved. She never got the endorsements. May not have even gotten the praise that she deserved. Why? Number one, she wasn't native. She wasn't really an American. And number two, she was gay. So adversity can come in a lot of ways. And Serena, you have overcome many barriers, baby. You have beaten the odds. Don't let these young children coming up watching you think that that's the best way to handle it. If you're right, you're right. But if you're wrong, own it. And for this particular final, the umpire doesn't owe you an apology. You owe him and us, and probably even more so, Naomi, Osaka, an apology for stealing this child's moment. Peace.